All right, in this video, we're gonna dive into our volume slider script and flesh that out. So we just emptied it for last time, but let's sort of think about what we want for this. I want to be able to, when this is activated, kind of move this up and down, and she'll tell me if it's too loud or too quiet. And when it hits a sweet spot, then she will tell me that that's the volume that she wants it at, and then when I let go, she's going to be happy with it, and then I'll trigger the win state. So that's how the volume slider is going to work, and we've inherited everything from the modular control. Let's start with our setting the objective. So in our number pad, we've set the objective, and we changed the objective message and the text on the television. And we can do the same here. We can do, since it's virtual already, so we can do public override void set objective, and we're going to overwrite that, and we'll call set objective from the base later. What we're going to do is we need to make a new objective, so we're going to have like a random integer. And remember, our slider is now, it's from 0 to 20, not from 0 to 100. So we need to create a random integer. We'll call it int rand. And we'll feed in a range of 0 is the minimum. And then we can probably set a integer up here, a public int, for our max volume, that max slider value. And this will be here. Okay, so we can set in the inspector that like we want the maximum to be 20. So if we ever change this in the future to 100 again, then we can change that. All right, so once we have our random integer, we have objective. We already have objective. No, we don't. We need to make objective number from our volume slider value. We need to compare, here we go, the slider, this float that's in here with a float of our own, which is going to be our objective number. So we're going to have a public float objective, and that here, objective num, is going to equal rand. So even though we're feeding in a float, so it's easier to compare later, we are setting that float to an integer value. That way we won't get any sort of floating point numbers. It's a should be fine. And that should do it for our basic setup. So if we try this, and we're on volume slider, then we should get a random integer as our objective num over here. Actually, no, because we didn't set the max slider value to 20, so we'll do that. Nope, so something's wrong. Save. Oh, we're not calling set objective. So I'm gonna uncomment this and start. I'm gonna set that as an objective until we figure what to do with that on Game Manager, and I will deactivate number pad so it's not calling set active. So with our slider, did I save it? Set objective, number pad, volume slider. Public objective. Oh, Start. So did I just not save it or something? Because it's seems to be working now. Maybe it just by chance I got a random value of 0. Okay, well, hopefully I didn't do anything too crazy. So that's working. So we're setting our objective, and now what we should do is with our slider, we are going to be calling some sort of function from our volume slider script, and then with that we can change the objective message that says whether it's too loud or too quiet. So I'm going to make a new public void so that we can call it from the inspector, and I'm going to say change handle position, and this is going to be called anytime that they get a value change, on value change. So this is going to be called anytime the number is different than it was last time. Remember we have a bool that's asking or checking if it is the active objective is active. Where is it at? If is active objective, why is it complaining? Due to its protection level. Oh, I guess I need to make this public. Did I never use that for? I guess I never used that for my inherited class. Okay, so now we can check if it's the active objective, and if so, then we're gonna do some stuff. Now we should have a float that checks our handle position, and that's what we're going to check against our objective number. So we'll update our handle position. So our handle position equals our volume slider value. Okay, so we can get our slider. Yeah, so I was sort of thinking if we wanted to feed in a number here, but we'd have to feed in a different number each time, not a hard-coded number. So it doesn't really work like our channel numbers. What we really need is we need to get the slider in our script. So I'm going to set a slider, not slider joint. Oh, I need to add using Unity Engine.ui. And now our slider, volume slider. And if our handle position equals our volume slider value. And I think it's going to complain because this is a float. So what we can do is we can cast this by doing a parentheses int, and it's just turning our float into an integer. So that's cool. And then if our, I guess we don't really need this objective num to be a float. We can make that an integer. And we will check if our handle position is equal to our objective number. And objective message will be something like stop. That's how I like it. Maybe without that, I don't know. So I don't do apostrophes just because the font is like, it makes it look really weird. Like it gives equal spacing to the apostrophes and the letters. So I just like avoid apostrophes and probably avoid this period too. We'll see. Alright, so we've changed our objective message. And then later we're going to have to make sure that our text is the same as our, like objective text.text is the same as our objective message, but we'll worry about that later. So if it's not equal to, then it's either less than or greater than. So we can check if it's less than. And if it is, then we can say the objective message is something like, I can't hear it. And then there's only other one option or use case. If it's not less than or equal to, it's greater than. So we can just do an else, and then if that objective message is, or not if, we're going to set the objective message to it's too loud, like she's yelling, like she's like, it's too darned loud. She's yelling over the TV and she's angry at us. Alright, so after we've changed the objective message, we need to change the text. But actually we're sort of already doing this in our set objective function in our modular control class. We have a function that just says like the objective text equals objective message. So we can either write that out again. Is it no, well, yeah, if we want to make sure that this doesn't need to be public, then we can write that out again, or we can just do something interesting. We've already done this, like we can call our base function from our inherited overridden function. Well, we can call a different base function just by doing the same thing. So base dot set objective, and it is one sort of thing that's happening is that we are it is already an active objective, and it's going to keep setting it to true, but that's fine. We don't care. It's not going to change anything because we're already checking if it is true, so that won't mess with this at all. Alright, so after it's set objective, then that's going to happen every time we change the handle position. So why don't we, I think we can test it out. We should be getting a random objective, and then we need to, on our slider, we need to add our parent object and get the script, and then call the public on change handle position. So once we've done this, it says it's not set to an instance. Okay. Okay, we need to get our volume slider. So what we'll do is on start, we will find this and we'll set that to our volume slider. But actually, to do this, we need to override our start, which we haven't made virtual yet. So we'll do public virtual void start, and then here we will do base.start. And then we'll make this a public override. And then we will find, so we can do the start stuff first, and at the end of that we'll get volume slider. And we will find our slider. So there's a couple ways we can do this. We could go in here and we can make this a unique name, like vertical slider, or we can go through our children and get the organization will have to matter. So we'll have to go get our second child and then get the child of that child. We've done a lot of GameObject.find, so maybe in this one we can learn something a little bit new. We've already done, we've already got the child before when we've got our victory screen, right? We got get child. We can even just copy that. So we'll go get the child, but we can also get the child of the child. And we need to get the second child, so we'll get like one. And then of that child, we can get a component, the slider. So on start, it goes through our children, finds our second child, and gets the volume slider. It's too loud. It's too. That's how you like it. Okay. Cool. And now we need to. We've done different messages, but we need to have a different win state, and also. When we've set objective, we also want to get an objective message. So maybe as soon as we've set the objective, we can call change handle position, which is going to check. So set objective is going to set this to active, and then immediately after, we're going to change the handle position, which is just going we're not actually changing the handle position, but what this really does is check after we have changed our handle position, and why is it? Oh, that's why. Make sure you have semicolons everywhere. So immediately when we start this, we should get a message now, except for we have an error. Oh, yeah. Slider. Value. Okay. Maybe if we do this before we call the start function. Okay, good. This is just a small thing, and it's not going to happen because we're not going to have that start. This is just for testing. But what was happening was we were calling base start. Base start was going through its code, and it was setting our objective. Our objective was going here, and it was setting a random integer, an objective number, and then it was, changing our handle position before we've gotten to this line where we find our slider and get the component from our slider. So we make sure we do this before any of the other stuff, and then we're good. Ooh, okay, so the next thing is I want to, as soon as you let go of the slider and you have put it onto the correct position. There's no fail state in this mini game other than the timer running out. So if you let go of it, you call a function, and it's going to lock in your volume and check if you've won the game, if you've completed the objective. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to add a new event type. So an event trigger, and I'm going to add a new event type on event trigger, and it's going to be on pointer up. So and this works for on touch up as well for like mobile. So as soon as we've let go of the slider, we're going to do something, and that thing that we're going to do is we'll call a new function called submit. So we'll do public void submit, so it's like we're submitting our answer. And on submit, we are going to say that we've got objective cleared. But not every time. We don't want, if you have the wrong answer, we don't want to do this, or the wrong volume, we don't want to say that objective is cleared. So we'll check if the handle position is equal to the objective number. And if so, then we can do cleared. One other thing is, since this is going to be receiving data all the time, it could be like deactivate, or like it's not the active objective, and we can mess around with this and then still accidentally trigger a win state, and we don't want to do that. So we are going to also check if it is the active objective. So if it's the active objective and the handle position is equal to the objective num, then we do objective cleared. We'll trigger our animation and we'll be happy. So let's get our volume slider and get our volume slider script from our volume slider object, and we will do a submit here. All right, let's try it. She says it's too loud, so we're making it quieter, and it's right there, and then we trigger our win state. Cool. So I think we're all set for our volume slider. Sweet. I forgot something. So in our volume slider script, we also want to make it obvious, or like it'd be nice to see our volume changing on the TV. So we already have a teletext, and we can just make that happen really quick. So we can refer to our teletext and get our text from that. And that'll be our we'll set it equal to volume something, and we've got a number from 0 to 20, right? So we'll have add, we'll add to our string an integer, which is going to be handle position, and if we want to make it 0 to 100 instead of 0 to 20, we multiply it by 5, and then we just take this value and we like cast it to a string, and then that should give us our volume. I'm going to take out this colon because I don't think it looks great with our font. So let's try that out now. Oh, you know what? We need to make sure that this is not commented out. So set objective. If we hit play. And then I need to make sure that only that's activated. Okay, so now we can see that our volume is sort of changing. She likes it at volume 95. That's great. Technically, the objective number is 5, that divided by 5, right? So it's 19. in our script, but just for the volume is between 0 and 100. All right,